All right, we're going to connect a really deep, kind of nagging problem we all have in our online lives with a surprisingly elegant solution from the world of advanced AI. And this connection, it might just change how you think about pretty much everything. You know the feeling, right? You're in a comment thread, a group chat, whatever, and it just feels like everyone is operating in a completely different reality. We have all these ways to connect, more than ever before, but that real feeling of being on the same page, it just seems to be getting rarer and, honestly, more fragile. So, this isn't just a vibe or a feeling you have, it's a real structural condition of our time, and we can call it digital drift. Think of it like this constant, gentle pull away from any kind of shared context. It's a slow, steady erosion of the ground we need to stand on to feel like we're even in the same world together. And this quote, man, it just nails it. You see, our old ways of communicating were basically built for the world of print. Fixed text, clear arguments, stable meanings. But our digital world today, with its crazy algorithms and scattered attention, that stability is just dissolving. The very ground beneath our conversations is literally shifting under our feet. And here is where things get really interesting. What if this feeling of drift, what if it isn't just about us? What if our most advanced technologies, things like generative AIs, are fighting a mathematically certain version of the exact same problem, not as some kind of bug, but as a fundamental law of how they work? Yeah, in the world of AI, this drift actually has a technical name, multiplicative error drift. And honestly, the best way to picture it is as a huge, super fast, infinite game of telephone, where every single step in the chain introduces a tiny, unavoidable little error. And the math here is just brutal. I mean, even if every single step the AI takes is 99% coherent with the one before it, which sounds amazing, right? Those probabilities multiply against each other. So after just a few dozen steps, the overall coherence just completely collapses. It is a mathematical certainty. Any long chain of this kind of creative thinking will eventually drift into total nonsense. So eventually, the AI hits this point we can call the truth vacuum. It literally runs out of facts. Its own context just doesn't give it enough to go on. And because of the way most of these AIs are built, that emptiness creates this weird pressure. The system is basically forced to inject randomness, to hallucinate, to just make things up, because it has to fill the silence. Okay, so this brings us to a really key difference, two core philosophies. Most generative AI that we use today is what you'd call fail open. Its main rule is basically keep talking, no matter what. When it gets confused, it just invents something. But there's another way, a fail closed architecture, and its main rule could not be more different. If you don't know, stop. And that fail closed idea, well, that's the absolute heart of a framework called Synoptics. It's a solution that's not trying to make AI better at guessing. Nope. It's designed to get rid of the conditions that cause the drift to happen in the first place. So instead of being a reasoning engine, a synoptic agent acts more like a switching engine. And the best way to think about it is like a librarian. It works with a bounded view, a limited known library of facts. So when you ask it a question, it's not trying to write an answer for you. It just performs a simple check. Is that book on my shelf? Yes or no? And what happens if the book isn't on the shelf? Well, it doesn't try to write a new one from memory. It just gives you the symbol, the null operator. You can think of it as the radical stop button. It's a structural break that just halts communication completely, which prevents any drift or hallucination from even getting started. It's basically built on the promise that silence is way, way better than a lie. Okay, so a super honest AI that knows when to just stop talking. That's cool, right? But what in the world does this have to do with us? With that feeling of everyone talking past each other online? Well, the connection is this. Most of our miscommunications, they're not really about the words we're using. They actually come from a much deeper problem, a failure of something called orientation alignment. We're just not seeing or feeling or experiencing the same situation. Think of orientation alignment as like the invisible foundation for any real conversation. It's that moment when our viewpoints on a situation start to line up. We start noticing the same things, we have similar expectations, we agree on what's relevant. It's this pre-verbal feeling that lets a world start to appear as something we actually share. Let's look at a real-world tale of two companies. Back in the 90s, Philips launched this huge initiative to become customer first. They used all these slogans and symbols to just declare this new reality. And it failed, because the customer never really became a real shared thing for the employees. Compare that to the tech giant ASML. They use a very structured process that forces their engineers to really map out and disclose the customer's world, which creates this shared, actionable reality that they can all live in together. So you see, it's the exact same problem, just in different clothes. In AI, when you have unconstrained thinking, you get mathematical error drift. In us humans, when you have unconstrained interpretation and no shared context, you get orientation drift. And that, my friends, brings us to the unified solution. I mean, if the deep problem is really the same, then it makes sense that the solution would share the same core principle. And this principle is what we call the synoptic stance. And the solution for both of them comes down to one single powerful idea: boundedness. It's about intentionally, deliberately creating a shared, closed context. It's like building a firewall against the chaos of infinite interpretation. This slide right here is basically the Rosetta Stone. It shows how it all maps together, so let's just take a second. On the AI side, you have multiplicative error drift. On our human side, that's orientation drift. And the synoptic principle, the solution for both, boundedness as a firewall. The AI's truth vacuum, that's our lack of a shared world. The solution, a fail-closed approach that stops chaos before it starts. And finally, the AI's tendency for generative inference, that's our unconstrained interpretation. The principle, always prioritize what's actually in the shared view, rather than just inventing something new. So what is the synoptic stance? Well, you can think of it as a practical tool, a new mindset. It's about realizing that good communication isn't just about yelling better messages into the void. It's about doing the hard, intentional work of building a bounded, shared world first. And this quote just sums up the whole paradigm shift perfectly. The work of communication is to bring actors and situations into a relation where a world can appear as shared. See, the goal isn't just to talk. It's to create the actual conditions where our talking can finally matter. So here's the big takeaway, the most important thing to remember. Stability, whether you're talking about an AI system or a human conversation, it is not the default. It's not something we can just take for granted anymore, especially not in this age of drift. It is a fragile, precious thing, and it has to be actively, intentionally built. And that really just leaves us with one final question for you. In your own life, in your teams, your communities, your conversations, you can either add to the drift or you can do the work of building coherence. So, in this age of drift, what stable worlds are you choosing to build?